G'day, mate. What's your name?
My name's Peter.
Peter. What do you do, Peter?
Well, Andrew, I'm a comedian.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Crowdworkcast. My name's Andrew Barnett. Thank you so much for joining me. Great episode for you this week. I sat down with Peter James, who is he's now a Brisbane-based comedian, but he started in Cairns. He's 24 and annoyingly good at comedy for his age. He's an absolute champion. He was good enough to trek out to my place in Sydney via public transport, which is it's a real effort. And he's we had a real good chat. Very, very comedy heavy, this chat. So if you like your comedy nerd stuff, you should enjoy this one. Now, if you do want to see Pete live, unfortunately, by the time this comes out, you'll have missed him for his festival runs, but he is doing his solo show at Good Chat in Brisbane. So if you are in Brisbane and you'd like to go see him, I can highly recommend it. Go see him there. You can find out all his dates and all about what he's up to via his Instagram, which is Diapetes. So that's DIA_PETEES, Diapetes, because he has diabetes. A little pun there. He's a good follow, so please do follow him. If you want to follow me at Andrew Barnett Comedy, once again, my festival runs will have finished. Thank you very much if you came out to see any of those shows. I'm hopeful that I'll be getting back to Brisbane and maybe doing my show again up there in July, but I'll have more details once I confirm that. Other than that, if you are enjoying the podcast, please do like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Leave a review. It all helps. And if there's anyone you'd like me to chat to, please do reach out. Send me a message via Instagram or Facebook or wherever you follow this. And hopefully I can sort out a guest you'd like to hear me chat to. Other than that, this is my episode with Peter James. Enjoy.
I'm a stand-up comedian.
A pure stand-up comedian. This is the one question that I've found comedians struggle with, and you're one of the few that's able just to go, "No, I'm a comedian." Like so many people go, "Well, I do lots of things."
Yeah,
it's like, "Nah, man, you're a comedian."
I've got my feet in a few.
Yeah,
feet in a few pies. No, I'd say stand-up comedian first and foremost.
How old are you?
24.
24.
Yeah, little fella.
So,
yeah, straight out the womb onto the.
When did you? Because you started pretty young, didn't you?
I started real young. But it's really hard to equate because when people say, "Oh, how long you been doing this for?" and I say the amount of time, but it's not like, so I started in a regional town.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm in Sydney doing fucking 2 gigs a week, you know. So I started when I was 14.
Holy
doing class
shit.
clowns, which is like raw for high school students.
Yeah.
And I do that every year, do like 2 gigs a year for the school. And then
14.
Yeah, little guy. My sister used to live in Sydney.
Yeah.
And my first gig outside of school, I would have been, probably late 14, 15 or whatever. Did you ever do a mic in hand?
Yeah.
Glebe?
That's where I did my first ever gig.
That was what I would consider my first like proper gig. That's not like a high school comedy competition or at some weird high school event. I just got the email, sent a message, didn't mention the age because I was like, they won't put me on if I tell them I'm 15. So I just turned up and it was too late and they're like, "Oh, do you have a guardian?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
That's
like,
insane.
Yeah. But it's very hard to equate the actual amount of time because you're not like, really in it for a while. But yeah.
Yeah, well, I think anyone, I think that's pretty common. Even starting in Sydney, like my first little bit, like it's like you do one and then especially when I started, there wasn't sign up open mics and all that sort of stuff. There was mostly rooms where there was 1 or 2 spots where they'd let an open micer go on early.
Yeah, right.
And then it sort of, as it went through, got more established to the headliner. So it was hard at the start when you didn't know anyone.
And when was this? What sort of?
So I think my first 2009 was my first.
And who would you say? Who's your group? Who did you start with?
So that first year, I was in Raw, and in that state final, there was Crookshank, who'd been going a little bit longer than me, but there was Crookshank, Kappa, Nick Kappa, Luke Heggie, Michael Hing.
Oh, wow.
There was a good group. Andrew Wolf was kicking around then. He
Awesome.
did Raw, and Cameron James did Raw the year after, but they started around the same time as me.
So is Andrew Wolf from here?
Yeah. Wolfie started in Sydney.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just think of him as Perth exclusively. You barely see him
Nah,
anywhere
man.
else.
You don't get that manic energy without spending a bit of time in Sydney, mate.
Yeah. Let's look at the inside of that nose. You've been in Sydney,
Yeah.
mate. I know for a fact. Wow, what a crew.
Yeah, it was a good. I was only thinking about that the other day. That state final, like the amount of people still going, is pretty impressive. Because you know yourself, like the amount of people that dip in and out and you don't see, and
Yeah.
so
It's comedy so much like that. People, like I remember being in like sort of open mic scene or whatever, and people go, "Oh, it's fucking clicky." And you go, "Why wouldn't it be clicky? How many people are here for 3 months? Why would you make the effort to like properly get to know someone?
Oh, exactly.
Until you're like, oh, you've been here for like a year, you'll be around.
Yeah.
There's just so many in and outs. Yeah.
I remember someone saying early, like, talking about, what's the best way to, make sure, like, to try and have some success or to make it or whatever. And I remember someone saying, well, you just don't stop. Like, most people stop at some point. If you don't stop, then eventually, if you've got any talent, it might
something will happen.
Yeah, it mightn't be, big, household name stuff, but, you make a few dollars here and there.
Yeah.
And
I love the quote. I can't even remember who said it, but it was like, comedians don't retire, they die.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And it's true. Like, real comics just die.
Yeah. George Burns was doing it after 100.
Dead.
Like, yeah, man. I love it. He had a bit. I saw him, like, when he was... It must have been they showed a clip of him on the news for his 100th birthday. Yeah. And he's talking about... He said, I was talking to this lady, and she said, you're 100... You turn 100 years old. You're about to turn 100. You drink whiskey and you smoke cigars every day. He goes, yeah? She goes, what does your doctor say about that? He goes, I don't know. He's dead.
Awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah, man. That's great.
George Burns. So you start whereabouts in the country? So you started rural town. Where are we talking? Cairns.
Yeah, Cairns fella. I've only been out of Cairns for 2 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I live in Brisbane now, but started a gig. Well, a sort of origin story. Did a year working in a theatre in Cairns after high school.
Yeah.
Moved to Melbourne to go to uni. Course got cancelled before it started, so I just stayed there for 2 months. Did lots of gigs and saw a lot of things. The thought of going back to Cairns and just doing 1 gig a month was just the worst idea ever.
Yeah.
So I started a gig, and that was weekly, and it's still going. It's been going for 6 years, and it's like a big cult thing. We fly acts up all the time. Every week
wow.
we fly someone up to Cairns, and so I was doing that for ages, and then I'd go to Brisbane like once a month for like 2.5 years before I moved. Do a week of gigs, come home or whatever, just been in Brisbane for 2 years now.
Oh wow! So. Yeah. So what uni course did you go down to do that got cancelled before it started?
Thank fuck for that. Honestly, that's the best thing that ever happened was it didn't go ahead.
What was it?
It was just, it was like, that's how little it means to me, really. I can't even really remember what it was. It was like some artsy fucking thing.
That's because that is funny because it is probably at the time you were like, oh man, this is disappointing, But
it was kind of like, it was disappointing, but it's not like it was some passion.
Yeah.
Whatever the thing was, it was just, you need something to go to do, so you're not just in the city doing nothing. So it was just to do something. I think it was Bachelor of something made up. Yeah, just some artsy shit where it was just like,
yeah, if they can...
Creative industries. See what I mean?
Creative industries.
It's not even specific. It's just, have a thought and try to be as fucking clever as you can with it.
What a...
I do remember there was a stand-up. I remember in the thing, one of the, the parts of the course was there was stand-up comedy involved. Oh. And that was a bit me just going, that one I'll do.
How good... Yeah. I'd love to know who was going to teach that.
Carl Barron. Yeah.
Carl Barron.
Yeah.
Dr. Carl Barron.
Yeah. But thank God, because then it was like it got cancelled and that made me move to Cairns, and then I met my partner and all the stuff that comes with going home. So it was perfect. Couldn't have worked out better. And
an expensive way to waste time. You don't even realise that. I think when you sign up for because we've got Hex or whatever, it's Help now or whatever. At the time, as like a 19, 20-year-old or however old you are, you don't even think about the fact that you're accruing debt.
Oh, yeah.
But then, like, it is, if it goes nowhere, if it's just a made-up course that gets you nowhere, it's just an expensive way to waste time.
Oh, absolutely. Like, at least if you buy a house and you've got debt, you've got a house.
Yeah.
You do a uni course you don't give a fuck about, then what was the point of that?
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't get you, like, especially, like, I get engineering degrees, I get degrees that have something, but the amount of people, like, I've come across that, the Bachelor of Arts / something, and they're just now doing stand up and going, I don't know why I did it.
Oh, yeah, it's great, and especially if you're already in on some level. Like, at the time, I knew I was like, it's stand up comedy or bust. Really, that's it. Yeah. That's all I want to do. So there is no course. There's no.
No,
learning from doing. So we're in the course now. I'm doing it. I'm this is it.
That's the other thing with stand up is, like, you can do a course, you can learn, like, there are courses out there you can do, but they're ultimately the only way to really learn is to just get up and stand there.
It's so hard to explain to people.
Oh, mate, how do you get into it? Well, you just do.
Start.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Just go? I always say when people say I'm going to try stand up, I say the only goal for the first gig is to talk into a microphone. That's it. That's the only goal. Anything beyond that, just a bonus. But just be on stage in front of a room and talk in front of a microphone.
Yeah, and don't stress. Yeah. Just, like, go, okay, this is... I don't know about you. So how did you know that you wanted to be a stand-up? Like, at what age did you realise?
Oh, it's all I've cared about forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so who was your early, like, what did you see that you loved?
It was just like, regional town, roadshow.
Yep.
Every year, big event of the calendar, go to roadshow. But it was just like, Dad loved comedy, and it was just like DVDs at home. It was just like obscure, weird stand-up DVDs that I just have on loop. And then if they would come on now, I could probably recite them.
Who are we talking?
Oh, like... I mean, it's not obscure, but I didn't realise at the time. Like, Patrice O'Neill was on one. There was one, like...
At the time, he was obscure. Like, he's had more... Probably his profile's grown more since his death.
Yeah.
And also, outside of stand-up circles, he's probably not as well known as...
He would have... podcasting... Could you imagine anyone better for, like, the podcasting Twitter era than, like, Patrice O'Neill? Oh, my goodness.
Would have been amazing.
But I remember there was this guy... what was his name? Jeremy... Horowitz, I remember he was like an American guy that would, like, touch his face and, like, giggle a lot. That was a guy, but it was just like, and then YouTube was coming through, so I'd, like, subscribe to all the, American clubs or whatever. But it was just, all I cared about was, like, comedy all the time. And I used to think in primary school, I was like, I'll be an actor or whatever. And then the Class Clowns thing happened. I had a teacher sort of push me in the right direction. And then it was like, from that moment, it was like, well, this is it.
How did you go in Class Clowns?
Good. I did it every year. The final year I made the final, but the first time I did it, my first set was just like a stolen funny monologue. I thought that's what you did.
Yeah.
So I just did like a funny monologue. Matt O'Kine was my host in Cairns.
Oh, really?
I had some cracking hosts, Harley Breen. It's so funny now when you're like working with people and you're like, you can never find out about it. I'm actually, oh man, I'll tell you, because I haven't worked with Matt, at all, really. He's not really doing stand-up as much anymore. No,
I bumped into him. We did a room 4 months ago. He was talking about getting back into it. I hadn't seen him in ages, so he came and did a set at a room, and then he was saying he was getting back into it, but I haven't seen him round the clubs as much.
But I'm petrified. There's like a couple of comedians that were like Class Clowns people that I'm like, I hope we don't ever become like friends on Facebook, because I'll have a message there from me at like whatever year going, hey, I filmed my would you have a look? Or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Or sending some asking for advice thing. And I'm like, well, we just can't ever connect. I can't have that happen to me. I can't you get a message, hey, nice to meet you, man. And you say, oh, you've messaged me 10 years ago as a child.
Mate, imagine that would make my day if something happened like that. Just like, you realise.
But so many instances of going like, oh, you don't even know that we met and I was a little boy.
That's
I was
so
a little baby boy.
It's so funny because you probably like I don't know. You at the time they wouldn't have like you never really think about those kids that you interact with growing up and
Yeah.
keeping on doing stand up.
I can't imagine there'd be heaps.
No, Aaron Chen started real early.
Oh, actually, I'll tell you what. Aaron Chen, I remember that my first exposure to him was like his Class Clown set before I did it.
Oh,
'Cause
really?
I was looking up people that had done it, and I was like, wow, that guy was really funny. And now you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
I cannot fathom, and I don't mean this in any way disrespectful. I cannot fathom how popular he is now.
Oh, mate,
Like he's awesome, he's so good, but it's crazy that so many people go to see Aaron Chen.
he's another one who started. He started not that long after me.
Crazy.
I remember him as a kid coming to. I remember him having to come to gigs with his old man
So funny.
because he wasn't allowed, but was just funny from the start.
The
Like,
Class Clown set's still on YouTube, and it's still pretty good.
it's amazing.
You go like, yeah, not bad. Like mine's still up there, and it's not very good at all. But Aaron Chen, you're like, no, this would work. You know, if this was at a gig,
and he'd
this
know
would
how
still
to
probably
sell
work.
it too.
Yeah. Oh man, so funny. But yeah, I remember being in Melbourne last year and there was a line, and I thought it must have been for like Hamilton or something,
Oh yeah,
and it was for Aaron Chen, and I was like, what the fuck is going on?
mate. It was funny because I bumped into him last year in Melbourne. I was my family came down for the Easter weekend and we're staying. And we were walking down, and I was just looking at my phone, trying to find where I could get Mikey cards to take the kids on a tram and do all that sort of stuff. And Nat, my wife, just goes, Andrew, that guy said hello to you. And I look around, and it's Chenny, and he's like, hey man, how are you? I'm like, how are you, dude? I said, when are you doing the Palladium? He goes, oh, tonight. And he's just relaxed, just wandering around Melbourne, just one of the nicest. That's one of the ones where you look at a guy who's had that much success and go, oh, that's good. One, talented. Two, one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet.
Oh, someone just told me a great story about this, and Dalton Whiskey. Have you done the Gold Coast gigs?
Did Gold Coast with him years ago now.
Oh man, he told me this great Chenny story. I've not worked with Aaron Chen.
Oh really?
No,
Oh,
never
mate.
really crossed paths, but awesome, very funny.
Yeah.
I went and saw him at the Athenaeum, but the fact that he did the Palais is
I know.
insane. I was like, that's where they do the gala. That's the gala.
I know.
That's the
He
biggest thing in
just-
Australian comedy.
Mate.
And Chenny's like, hey, how you doing? What's happening? What universe we live in? But anyway, I got this story. Dalton Whiskey was telling me the first time Chenny did the Gold Coast. It was like a really hot summer's day, and they were in the car together, and Dalton's driving and Chen's in the passenger seat, and he goes, oh, feel free to do whatever you want with the aircon and the radio. And like immediately Chenny goes full hot, full fan, tunes it to like just static, full volume, so it's hot air in summer, full static. It's going and he just leans over to Dalton's face and goes, so how long you been doing comedy for?
That is so
Just
good.
in his ear, like immediately. He's like, it's the quickest thing I've ever seen in my life. So funny.
Mate, he's one of those just naturally funny guys around. I remember when he used to we do the store, and Chris Wainhouse lived not too far from him at the time. And Wainhouse, Chenny didn't drink, and so Wainhouse would get a lift with Chenny and then get Chenny's drink tickets off him.
Oh,
So
awesome.
not only would, and then he'd just hammer him about being trying to convince him there was no God. So I'm like, Wainhouse, you can't corrupt this nice guy. He's the nicest guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, he just used to in exchange, he used to scab a lift and all the drink tickets and then try and convince him there was no
Yeah,
God.
try to rid him of his faith.
Yeah. It's like, mate, you are the
with
devil.
friends like these.
Yeah, exactly. But so you start Class Clowns, then what year did you finish high school?
2015.
2015. So, and is that when
How does that make you? Is that upsetting to hear? that weird?
2015.
Yeah, weird
what
thing to
what was I doing in 2015? Yeah, I was doing
Been doing comedy for 6 years.
Stand up. I was actually 2015 was probably when I did Gold Coast.
Oh
last.
wow,
So
it's very strange. Dates come out sometimes, and I go, oh wow, that's very strange for me to – like, I think the 98 Raw final was like Mickey D. And Chris Franklin and Kat Davidson, who I would consider all friends.
And
I was just I got on December 30, 98, so I wouldn't have even been alive. You know what I mean? Like
great.
and
Now
Mickey D's doing Raw. He's a
Mate.
full adult. He's like not been cum for
I
ages.
don't know if Mickey D's even a full adult now. Mate, let's be honest.
Isn't it weird that like I think comedy because it's like it's such a weird like ragtag team of people that it's like I don't think in any other industry would you have close personal friends that are like no Mickey D is like my mate. I talk to Mickey most days. Like,
Yeah.
I would send Mickey a message. I'd get it's not really. It's just him sending me reels of disgusting things on Instagram. But like that's like we're mates.
He hasn't got you. He doesn't send you running stuff.
No. Well, he's seen my body, mate. He wouldn't say. Although I've seen Mickey's body, and
Oh, mate,
the fittest fat man in the world.
I know. He's actually. I saw him when in Melbourne. He's trimmed down. And
Yeah.
Then even he's just been. He was.
Actually, he does look great. I did see him recently. He looks awesome.
Yeah, he's been.
Yeah.
Did you see? Because he had the dream cruise that he was doing because he was going up through Alaska and
Oh,
he
awesome.
was sending me just messages about his runs he was doing up there. It's like insane.
Great.
But yeah, you're right. Like just you wouldn't. The guy can run ultra marathons. You wouldn't
Oh.
know it. Like he's not a.
But he can still, even when you go like thick Mickey's still like a bit of an athlete. Like he'll
Oh, yeah.
he's kicked the shit out of anyone on a run.
Yeah. Oh mate, he's a psycho. He's because
Proper
he's got that lock in. That there's people that can just lock in on we're doing this.
Yeah.
And that even happened. What I was telling you before we started that him and I we were doing when we did a cruise together. We had this routine where we did go to the gym and then steam sauna. Even like that sauna thing, like when you know I'm about to pass out, it's time to get out. You go no mate, 10 more minutes. Like he just lock
Love
in.
a cold plunge.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
that's it would go from there. Cold shower, back in, cold. Like he was
All about
like he's
pushing
that
yourself.
guy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but you're right. It is that industry where that's one of the greatest things about it is you meet all sorts of different people from weird backgrounds
That you would never ever
yeah,
meet or know that you could get along with.
exactly. And that's what I love too because I'm like now like 40. I'm 41, but there's not not many of my mates in their 40s who in other jobs who like most of the people they'd socialise with are around the same age, similar things. Like I'm regularly hanging out with people in their 20s, even up to like older like guys older than me. So like it's that nice thing where you're getting a nice cross section of.
It's good for you.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
It's and it forces you to actually stay a bit in touch with what's going on in other people's worlds too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So with so you start in Cairns. So when you started, there's no regular scene in Cairns.
No, it just started. Shad, the guy that I do the show that I tour around the country with,
Which is Pete and Shad.
Shad and Pete Save the
Shad
World,
and Pete
which
Save-
is bloody fun to go along to, especially on a Friday night in Sydney. Fingers crossed. But yeah, he was on commercial radio, so he moved to Cairns to do commercial radio for a couple of years.
Yep.
And I was doing that theatre that I mentioned that I was working at. There was like an improv comedy show, so I was doing that. And then we went on the radio station to promote that. And then, I'd been wanting to do stand-up, and he'd done stand-up like twice in Darwin. And we were like, you should come and do the improv show. And then when he came and did the improv show, we were like, we should do stand-up in the interval. And so like we'd do the improv show every week. And then in the interval, we would just like do stand-up. Go, go to the bar, but if you want to hang around, we're going to do 10 minutes of stand-up each while the break's on. And that was the thing. And then he started a room that went for a year. And then when I came back, I started the room, and now that's still going.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So how is the scene there? Because I always, when you tour around and you go like visit smaller places, like I've always said, there's most scenes. This is my theory anyway. Is any given place has a scene that has a scene will have a percentage of really good, a percentage of coming along, percentage of, and then a percentage of people, and just depending on the size of the scene, that number is smaller or larger.
Yeah.
So how big is the Cairns scene now? How many people get up regularly up there, you reckon?
Well, now it's in a bit of a weird place because there's been a bit of an exodus. But I'd say there's probably, like I'll do a call out for the local acts once a month, and I'd probably get 15 to 18 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How big's Cairns?
Couple of 100,000.
Okay, so it's a decent size.
Yeah, it'd be like
place.
220,000,
Yeah.
I think, maybe.
Nice.
I hope I'm not fucking that up. But yeah, it's decent size. But it is awesome up there, man. It's so good. Like, I think I'm really happy that I developed in a regional. I think there's something to be said for sort of developing and learning a skill where you can't look to someone above you for what am I trying to say? You know, you can't sort of copy or you know, you're not seeing someone and go, well, that works. I'll kind of do that. And like, because you can see sometimes people, I think it's especially noticeable to me in Melbourne, but you know, so like in Sydney or whatever, sometimes, but you can tell where someone started and who they started with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not in a bad way, but you go, oh, clearly you guys, you spend any amount of time with someone like, you know, that frequently, multiple nights a week, all the time, you're going to develop similar cadences and ways of speaking, ways of thinking or whatever. So you can see, okay, they must have been in Melbourne around the time of this person because they have a similar thing. But in Kansas, there's no one to, it's just it. So everyone's kind of now, after like half a decade, you can kind of see everyone's got their own sort of unique voice. It's not as refined as if you're in a city and doing it all the time, but everyone does have a unique way of doing comedy because they had no one to look to. So I think there's something to be said about.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's I'd never really thought of it like that. But you're not wrong, like in terms of, and I also find in a scene that there are people who come along that are influential within a scene, like in terms of just. I remember when Sam Campbell first came to Sydney, there was a real, like you could see his influence on some of the open micers, like just not out of anything other than they just really liked what he did and wanted to do something like that. So,
and that's not to say that there wouldn't be, and there wasn't some level, because you know you're still consuming comedy on some level. You know, you're watching things and you can see, oh, that's the era that I was really into that person. I can see myself and hear myself picking up on some cadences and doing it as we all do.
Yeah,
but it's not as, I don't think it sticks around as long because you're not just with the same crew doing the same gigs all the time and just developing this similar little way of talking or being on stage.
Yeah. So I've never really thought of that, but that's not that's a good way to look at it. I also think too, like I've always said, people for like the Australian scene, I always like comedians that come out of Brisbane, tend to be a bit sharper. Like tends to breed very sharp, punchy comedians because. From what I gather, some of the gigs up there have like it's a bit like, okay, you got to stay on this audience.
Back in the day of like all the people that you would be thinking of that are now these big names that have come out of Brisbane. At the time, I wasn't doing comedy in Brisbane, but from what I've heard, really hard stuff. Yeah. Now it's great with like Good Chat Comedy Club, which is one of the best clubs in the country, coming through, and there are good independent rooms all over the place. But yeah, back then I heard it was really fucking hard, and you can see like all the people: Cam Duggan, Becky Lucas, Cambo, Greg Larson. There's just so many come out of Brisbane.
Damien Power,
of course, yeah. Still lives in Brisbane. Mel Buddle. Oh my god, so many good. Steph Tisdale, so many good acts.
But just acts that just like not unintimidated by any crowd. Yeah. Go anywhere, throw them in a room, and they'll just work it out.
It's funny because like. There are a couple, like I did last time I was in Sydney, we did on the run of shows that we had, the Wednesday night was like easily the hardest. Yep. Like you walked in and all the acts kind of went, oh, what's this going to be? You know, you're like, everyone was like, oh, we're kind of up against it here.
Is this
in a corner?
The store run?
Yeah.
Where, do you remember where it was?
I'm sure it's not bad to say. The Harvard?
Yeah, I was gonna. That's the one I was gonna guess because it's of those gigs. It's in a pub.
Yeah, it's the most pubby, and it's not like a stagey. You know, it's like tables are all in, and it's in an L shape. So you're like in the corner, and then there's this half is disconnected from this half. It's just everything's a bit
Well,
challenging.
yeah, it's not because especially when you do that run, because the store is
You're doing comedy on steroids.
yeah, it is, and it's perfect. That room is perfectly set up.
Couldn't be
Everything's designed for you to do well in that
And
room.
then the Enmore on the Tuesday,
Same
also
thing.
great.
Yeah,
And then there was the one where you go, oh, and just part of me was like, I'm so glad I do comedy in the Gold Coast. This is the first time that I got to say, oh my God, thank fuck that I go to the Gold Coast so
Yeah.
much, because I feel like I know exactly what I have to do here.
Yeah.
And it was like, if I hadn't had like a year and a half crash course in how to handle it being a bit fucked, it could have really gone skew with.
I think there's a lot to be said for the like, and I don't know. My philosophy's always been just try and play as many different places as you can, because when you come to those situations where you feel you're a bit like something a bit different you weren't expecting, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I've got something to draw on here. Like,
Yeah.
I know how to do
Bit
this.
of muscle memory kicks in.
Yeah.
But it was good, but it was like you could see, you know, a couple of the younger acts that were that are amazing. Really fucking, like, I really liked them, and you could see, but, you know, smashed the store, smashed the Enmore, but just hadn't been in that position before.
Mm.
And it was just like, yeah, I think it's good to, you know, I only played sort of inner city, metro, you know, big, nice stuff. And it's very different.
Oh yeah.
That's why it's so fucking, I get so frustrated when, like, you know, mates will go to a comedy show. Like, I'll know friends that aren't comedians, and they'll go to a comedy show and they go, yeah, that person's not good. You go, you don't know that.
Yeah, no.
You
saw
don't
them
know.
once.
You saw him once, and like, what was the room? Tell me where it was, and I go, well, go and see him here, because probably you'll love him.
That's the big like misconception of comedy is a lot of people think it's just, especially, you know, like if you do like like you're just doing comedy at an event. Like you're the one comedian they have on. Yeah, you just get up and talk. I'm like,
yeah, he's not very funny.
It doesn't actually. It takes more than, because people just say, oh yeah, all you got to do is talk.
Yeah,
like, that's how, and if it's funny, it'll work. No, like, are they paying attention? Like, you need that. There's actually a little bit of.
It's so fickle. The ice of like that you're walking on between good show and bad show is so thin, and that's like, there are a few rooms in Brisbane that I'm like, this could be a great, like, there's a reason that this is always hard. There's a reason this is always a hard gig, and the room's good, and it shouldn't be this hard. And it's just like, there's just things you need to, like, as an audience, you come in, and there are so many rooms that lose the crowd before the show's even started because they feel like they've been swindled. And then your job as the MC is to go, no, act,
Yeah.
I promise. No, these guys are great. I've seen them all. I'm going to be good. Like, everything will be fine. But, like, you know, you walk into the Comedy Store and everyone goes, well, this is going to be fucking good.
Yeah.
And then the MC comes out and does good.
Yeah.
But you walk into a place where it looks like the person that's running the gig got there 5 minutes before, plugged the microphone in, sort of turned the lights on, seats are all fucking, you just like...
It's almost an apology for the show. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah. That, and just even like little subliminal things like, okay, have everyone facing the right way. So they know that once they do that, that's okay. Everyone's attention is drawn to this, because it is a thing where, because people go, oh yeah, it's not like music. You can just sit in the corner and they can, you know, just half tune in and half not. Like, it's something that requires people to sit there and pay attention. And if you're asking them to do that, you've got to put everything in place that they can do that.
And to judge a comedian off one performance is just foolish. It's so, because it's so night dependent. Like, it really does. I mean, there are and the more you get into it, the gap of great to bad, I guess, kind of minimizes. But still, it's like, because it's not like music. This is an analogy I always say to people that don't do comedy. It's like, if you're learning the guitar and you're trying to become a musician, the thing you're playing, you can take home and hear it and learn yourself from hearing it. But the comedian is playing an instrument, but the instrument is a room of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so every time you do it, you can't put the song, you have to practice with them. So you have to publicly embarrass yourself to get better constantly for years and years and years. And then even when you're good, you have to pick up a different fucking instrument every time you go out there and go, oh, I hope I know how to play this one.
Yeah.
And you try and play it and you go, oh, no, this is perfect. This is exactly what I know how to play. And then sometimes you get another room of people and you go, I've never fucking held this in my life. I know what this is.
Yeah.
What's this bell do?
So
You know?
you've been spoiled. You've been getting to play violin the whole time, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're playing the jug and the lagerphone.
Yeah. And we were like, that doesn't sound very good. Well, I wasn't given fucking much to work with, to be fair. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's the most impossibly challenging art form, and I think it's really hard to describe to people that don't do it.
That is a great analogy, and that's I don't know. I think sometimes there's two schools of comedians. There's the guys that like, and we're seeing more of it now with people just building their own audience and building it online. So they're sort of almost curating their following to fit what they want. Whether the guys, and I don't know about you, but like guys like Mickey D, and when I started, they're the guys I wanted to be like, where you go, okay, I can throw him into any room, and he'll be able to work it out. Like that style of comedian. I don't know, like what's your goal? Is it do you want to be the guy who can plug and play, or do you want to be the guy who can find the people that want to come to see your artistic vision?
I think that's what I'm still trying to figure out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. Because I'd love, like, my favourite thing is I love going to a show. I love a show with production, and I love seeing what show has been put together. But, like, currently I would say my skill set is probably more aligned to the other.
Yeah.
It's hard to...
Which I think is natural progression, because I think part of me, like, it's obviously not true, because you can see people do it where they don't have to go through that bit where, like, where they have to cut their teeth through the clubs anymore. Yeah. But that, to me, like, I don't know, that just as a personal thing, that is like, I'm kind of at the point where now I'd love to be able to fill like a nice, good sized room with my people, get them to come along and see me, and it's just a different game. But at the same time, I feel like being able to draw on that skill of walking into a room where no one knows who you are, and just you've got to work it out together. Is sort of valuable in building that. I don't know, like,
absolutely. And you can see, like, the people that are truly great really emphasise doing both. Like, Damien Power is constantly dropping into some of the worst gigs.
Yeah.
Going, you know.
And he's not, like, it's not like, his isn't okay, I'm going to pander to this audience sort of content-wise. Like, he is very good at figuring out a way to talk about the things he wants to talk about with
I think
whoever's in front of him.
That's probably more what I would like to be able to do. Because mate, one of the softest backbones in comedy, me.
Oh, really?
As soon as it starts going skew with all the tricks, can't help it. I've done a couple of things that's not a comedy. It's like a event that a friend is running for a media, whatever. Yeah. And they get you to do comedy at it. And you just start like you're doing a gig, and then 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden the young boyish charm starts kicking in, and the little smiles, and all of it. Right. And it's straight into the most palatable, easy to digest. But someone like Damien, or there's a guy in Brisbane that's fucking incredible. I don't know if you've seen him, Jack Knight. He's awesome. He will not. Nah. But he'll do great, but he will not change. He's like, this is what I do. And I think, that's what I would like to be able to focus more on, is like, being able to go to these other gigs that aren't just for your crowd, but doing your comedy, but knowing how to do what you want to do to them and how to get them in. That's what makes Damien great, because he's not going to dumb it down. He's not going to not do what Damien Power does, but he will know how to make Damien Power's comedy work for people that aren't Damien Power fans. Yeah. And it's like, it's a lot of confidence.
Oh, mate, it is. I think it's a lot of it not working sometimes. Like, you see people that, coming along, like, that get that very much their style, and then it starts to pop. And the audience like, this is great, it's genius, it's come out of nowhere. It's like, nah, I've seen this, like, when this doesn't work, when the audience aren't on board, it looks so painful.
I can't imagine how long and hard some of the gigs Dan Rath would have done.
That's exactly.
Because I watch Dan Rath now, and I'd probably not. I don't know if Crookshanks to the same level, but now are some of the best going, and comedians love them. But you go, man, you would have really fucking took it, eh? You would have really took it.
Crookshank, I don't know. Like, I've worked a lot with Crookshank over the years, and he's never been someone I thought bombed. Like, he's I don't know, like he's found a way. But right now, he's so locked in.
He's got it.
And it's just...
He's got it sorted.
Yeah.
Knows exactly the voice, knows that's a Crookshank thing to say. Like, I wrote a bit recently, and I've told 3 people. It's not... I haven't gotten it to work because I'm not as good as John Crookshank, but I've told 3 people the premise and the punchline. They go, Crookshank bit that one, and I go, yeah, I know.
Isn't
that
funny?
feels like a John Crookshank thing?
Isn't that funny how even like this far in you influence, like you can still be influenced by like something,
but it's not like subject matter. It's just like that sounds like something John Crookshank would say.
That's so
you know what I mean? Like just for a quick, just to tell you what I mean. It's way too long and it doesn't pay off enough. But I went to this shit pub and they had this nice whiskey that I like. It was like $8 and it's not supposed to be. So I said, oh, can I just get that whiskey on ice? And the bartender in the shit pub said short or tall. And I was just getting it on ice. And so like the only reason you have short or tall is how much mixer do you want in your drink?
Yeah.
And so I found that really funny. And then the punchline was like, all you're really asking for whiskey on ice, short or tall, is how far back do you want to tilt your head? You know what I mean? And that little observation, I've had 3 people go, that's like a thing. But he would be able to make that. I haven't been able to do it. I've tried it 3 times and it's not gone well any time. But I've had 3 people be like, Crookshank thing, that was something he would say.
That's because he's got that beautiful ability to get a very simple observation that's not, like, that's true, but you haven't consciously thought of or whatever. But he's it's funny watching people sort of lock in over the time. Like Crookshank's always had that that voice, but I don't know, like just I reckon in the last 12 months he's just
locked paying dividends, man.
Oh man, he's so good.
Lots of people coming.
Yeah, which is good. But that's another one. It's nice to see like people like that, like it's the work paying off because he's been at it for a while.
But then people like Dan Rath that are also now starting to really shift some tickets. It's like, you know, you are as good as you are because you didn't falter from what you thought was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Artistically. And you can see like, especially Rathy. Well, I mean, being in Brisbane, a few people have told me like, he used to really fucking die sometimes. And now it's like, good luck following that.
Yeah. Which he's one of those guys that coming through was like, either they got it or they didn't. And when they didn't, it looked painful. But when they did, it was like that gap between a gig going well and a gig going not well for that sort of unique perspective is much harder. Whereas I'm a bit more like you, where I'm somewhat more cautious, like in terms of playing that middle ground. But then I've realised over the last sort of couple of years that that's also naturally where I'm like, it's not that I'm choosing to be cautious with my material, but that's, you know, you got to write from the perspective you're coming from.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm getting less. It was funny. I did one of these with Lawrence Mooney, and it's been playing on my mind. He just asked me about we're talking about if you sort of won lotto or whatever, the lotto question.
Right.
What would you do different if you didn't have to worry about money? Would you still do stand-up? And I said, yeah, I'd still do stand-up. He said, would you do it different? I said, I might be a little bit less cautious. He goes, well, you should be doing that anyway. And I was like, oh, man, you just stripped me naked on my podcast.
Just start bawling your eyes out. Lawrence went, oh, fuck, Lawrence.
Don't stare into my soul.
Yeah, but it's not even the finances to it. It's just the feeling. Oh,
yeah.
The feeling of...
But I think too, over time, like you start to realize, okay, the more gigs you do, the less any individual gig matters to your self-confidence.
Yeah.
Like because, you know, when you start, if you've done 5 gigs and 3 of them are bombed, that's 60%.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, is that going to change? And slowly, as you stack more gigs, and that percentage is like the bombs. 1, you get better, so the bombs become less often. But 2, also
and not as brutal.
Yeah, well, they just have less impact because you've got the context of going, okay, and you know all those things that like, okay, maybe there were certain things stacked against you, like, or you know yourself. Like I've found, I've realised that depending on sometimes on my mood, my attitude when I walk on stage, will affect how I do.
Yeah, right.
So if I go on a little bit, like if I'm a bit tired and a bit just sort of pissed off and like not pissed off, but just a bit grumpy or whatever and just not feeling it, and then I take that attitude into the gig, then it just doesn't work for my persona and doesn't work for me. So then I have to get myself. Now I've realised, okay, I've got to get myself in a frame of mind. You want to do this, you want this to go well. Fucking buck up, dickhead.
Yeah.
It's really not that, especially to being tired and going, I'm too tired to do stand. It's what is it? Fucking, you're up there maximum like 45 minutes if you're not doing if you just the headliner show. Most of them it's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not. It's not exactly,
you can perk up for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's not exactly back-breaking labour. So.
Yeah. That's why, Luke Heggie always puts it into great perspective too, because he did 42 solo shows in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Which was like, everyone does like 22.
And
I saw on the website 42. And I spoke to him, I'm like, you're doing 42 hours in like 22 nights. He's like, yeah. And I'm like, fuck, that's going to be exhausting, mate. And he's like, no, it won't be.
Yeah, because he laboured for a lot of years.
Yeah, I know what fucking hard work is. He goes, you cunts are all just too soft for this. And I'm like, man, you put it, but I still think it's quite an achievement to do 42. But still, I'm like, I do understand what you mean. You are working in the sun all day.
And it's only because he's too big a tight ass to go to a bigger room. He just wanted to keep more money.
Yeah, cop that.
Come on, Heggie.
Dickhead.
He'll come back on. But yeah, it's So talk to me about. So you've left the Cairns scene. You're now in Brisbane. You're helping run Good Chat. Is it?
Yeah, I'd book and do a lot of the, I guess, side quests for Good
Side
Chat.
quests.
Yeah, just all like the little any run around easy jobs, little graphic design stuff, and putting shit on sale and all that sort of stuff. Just a little lackey.
Yeah,
getting
nice.
around. But it's they're best.
Yeah, I've heard. That's all I've heard is everyone's talking about how good Chat is. Go and do that.
It's great.
Great.
Yeah.
So, Brisbane. How is the Brisbane scene like at the moment? Like
really good.
Yeah,
really good. Got some great people that I've very inspiring to be around while everyone's still coming up. I think there is to some level that thing that we were saying about developing sort of away from the, masses of comedy. There's a lot of unique voices. There are some great, very funny people coming through, and I love just living in Brisbane is awesome. It's great. Weather's good, rent's more affordable, and it's like, especially for someone at sort of my level and like the level of a lot of the people that I'm kicking around with, it's like, if I was living in Sydney or Melbourne, you're just another person that can be booked at some point, So,
yeah.
But being in Brisbane, it's like you can kind of develop away from the eye of, all of the bigger acts. And then you can just go away once a month or once every couple of months and do a week. And because you're like a new face around the city, you can really just fill out your calendar with just like do the best gigs and all the ones you want to do with all the people you want to do them with, and then go home and work on the stuff. It's like The Office, and then
There is a lot to be said for making your mistakes out of the spotlight. Like that's where
people kind of, you can improve, but there is a little bit of, but I do think of you as the guy that bombs all the time.
Yeah, and there's something good too about being like, if you work with someone once a year or once every 6 months or whatever, you do notice that improvement over that time becomes more imprinted on you rather than
when you see a nephew in the family at 6 months and you go, "Fuck, you're huge."
Yeah.
You're Aaron Chan. Look how big you are.
Look at you. Look at you,
You're
Chenny.
massive now, Chenny. Look at that. The ballet. Look at that.
But that's the thing. Like that I think is because I think some people start and they go, okay, well, Melbourne or Sydney.
Just got to get there.
Melbourne in particular is where you need to go, because that's where still a lot of the comedy industry is down there. But there's nothing like being the new toy. Like turning up to a scene where you've made your mistakes, made your early mistakes somewhere else, and all of a sudden you're this new, who's this new guy? Like, wow, he's really good. Like he's come from nowhere. Like, and he's just started. Well, he hasn't. You just didn't happen to see the first 5 years of fucking up.
But even it's like you can be the new toy and be fucking up still. Like go in Brisbane, learning the stuff, and then just go to Melbourne and just do the best. Do your best.
Yeah.
And just do as good as you can, and then go home and then work a bit and go back and do the best. And just don't fuck it up when you get there.
Yeah. Hey, I've got to ask this just because it fascinates me. The idea of when you first started the room in Cairns.
Oh, yeah.
How wild were some of the sets that you saw from people wanting to give comedy a go? Because open mics, Yeah, open mics in general, you see some wild shit, but like when people can do lots of them all the time, they, and they can go see, like, I think a lot of people, when you start in a big scene, you can go watch a lot of comedy before you start and see. So it's not just like you've seen stuff on YouTube or whatever. You can go along, see people who are just starting and see the mistakes they make and go, okay, so you learn a little bit, okay, this is how this works. Yeah. Whereas I think sometimes, when people have, like, say they're a big Bill Burr fan or whatever, and that's their comedy, and then they're going, I'm going to give it a go, and they try and write like a Bill Burr who's got 35 years worth of experience and understanding how to construct an unpopular idea and get people to laugh at it. How wild were some of those early cans?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely a few, like... Yeah, so you're into that now. Like, or you'd see someone 1 week and you go, oh, trying a new persona tonight. That's interesting. Yeah, just someone for ages has just got like a linen shirt on that's buttoned down and sunnies inside, and you go, what's this?
Oh, ostentatious.
What's happening here? Yeah, but it's, I guess, quite a fun thing to be involved in. Everyone just kind of fucking throwing shit at the wall for a while.
Did that have the same, did you have the same thing where you just see, because you will see open mics that just someone who just pops in once and then they're gone, or, did you have that in cans too? Or is it more of a, people are interested so they're committed for a little while?
I'd say there was more, at the very, very start, there was like a real, this is the crew of people.
Yep.
And they would do it, and then a couple would come in and come out. But then sometimes I'll get like a Facebook memory of a photo of that crew, and it's like me and one other are still doing it. And it's a new crew. But you go, oh, isn't that... I forgot they for like a year were doing that with us.
Wow.
But it's a lot of like local actors that tried it.
Local actors.
Yeah. But it was just like, oh yeah, that guy tried it. And then, and no one's just kept it up. But it's like a whole new revolving door of people that have come in and then have stopped doing it. So it's like a totally different... There's a few, but the people that were doing it the whole time are now quite good.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just so funny to look back at those photos and go, yeah, no, and then it just wasn't there. It was just a fun thing to try. And then for other people, it's like, this is it. This is the only thing. It's interesting that you could do the same activity and both be creatives, but just go, nah, well, that was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but not for me, really.
Which I wonder, overall, the percentage of people that do stand up and it isn't the thing, like that just come and go, would be far greater, I reckon, than the people who actually stick it out.
Oh yeah, to want to do this, you got to it's weird. It's a crazy way to want to live.
Especially starting somewhere like Cairns or whatever, that, because you start in a big place. There is some infrastructure to whatever degree there is infrastructure in an industry like this, but there is access and infrastructure, and you can see that there is some sort of career path. But starting you essentially started a scene in a town. Yeah, that is like, I think too sometimes that they're some of my favorite acts that I've ever came through working with. The guys that had that one joke you remember that sort of came through stop, but they're the people that never really wanted to, they only ever wanted to just do it for fun. So they're, some of the ideas are much wilder than... Yeah,
well, definitely a purity when there's no other motive to do it other than to do it, to like it. Yeah, but definitely some real wild shit. But it's funny because it was like that. It started as an open mic, and it was because I didn't want to have to go back to doing once a month. And now it's just progressed to this totally been going about to do the 6-year anniversary, and it's fully curated lineups, and it's a pro host that's been flown there every week, and then probably twice a month there's a host and a headliner, and it's been sold out for year and a quarter now. It's just it's sold out.
And this is something you started at 18.
Yeah. But it's I didn't start, but it's kind of that thing. I didn't start it to be a thing. I wasn't starting it to, because some people start gigs because they want a little extra money or whatever.
Yeah.
It was free for ages, and then COVID happened, and then the best thing is COVID was, at the time, shit, but for comedy has been so good, I think. Like a lot of free gigs are now ticketed and people are used to paying for tickets because you can't have a free show if you have to have a certain amount of numbers.
Yeah.
So we started ticketing the show at a very cheap rate. And then it was like, it just kept building and building and building. And now it's like, and I don't take money out of the thing. I run it with another guy that lives there. So he's on the ground, sets it up and runs it and has the people stay at his place and yada yada. And I do all the admin and the booking and the design and stuff. But it's just like, now it's just, because it was just started to be a fun thing, it's just it just keeps. And the only reason I do it still is because I like it so much, because I don't get any financial benefit out of it. But that's what makes a great thing. It's like you've started it with a real pure intention, and now it's just like, phew. And we do like Tom Ballard just did a solo there. Hughesy has done a secret show there.
Oh wow!
Like,
yeah,
we've
so
had some fun, like Randy, Mel Buddle. Like we have fucking big names all the time, and great pros, and like all the locals are now so spoiled. But it's gotten to the point it's so big now. I'm like, I'd love an open mic to start around the place, just because I'm like, I'd love the locals to be able to do something
where the stakes are a little lower.
Just low, yeah, because it's like you're working with great acts all the time, and so it's like kind of annoying that, you know, like they want to do great in front of the pros, but also want to. So I'm like, but I can't do it. Someone from there has to do it.
Yeah, you need, because you need, as much as you want that place to showcase, you also need the place where you can risk take.
Yeah, on a smaller scale, like if my gig's Melbourne,
yeah,
I need a Brisbane. You know,
yeah, exactly.
In Cairns there has to be a little Brisbane gig that you can develop, and then you can come and do the thing. But it's like you're so spoiled. Like some of them have no idea because they don't come to the cities. They just think this is what comedy is. You just perform to 60 people every week with a great act, and it's also the crowds. I can't even tell you, the Cairns crowds are awesome, so good, because like they're regional, so they appreciate it being there, but they've also been exposed to heaps of different types of comedians for 6 years. Like I make an effort to send all sorts of genres of comedy. Like I'll send an alternative headliner to do half an hour just so that they see like a weird clown, or like, you know, they've seen all of the people and they love it. They love and now the great thing about our show is like, it's never been booked with like we've got a big act, so you've got to come and see the big act. It's just, we've got great acts every week. There isn't a bad week to come. So people just come for the show and assume because we've booked them, they'll be good.
That's the dream sort of space to sit. And you're not wrong about regional. Every time I've done anything even partly regional, where the audiences are just like, especially underserved with that sort of stuff, they're like, they made the effort to come here, they must be all right.
Yeah.
Like, and so they are appreciative and they're fun. It's not the well, it's not so, like, I think sometimes in a big city where there's so many different things to do, so many entertainment options.
Yeah.
It's you know, people are like, well, you know,
we could go, but there'll be something. We'll just go another time.
Yeah.
You know,
the stakes for the audience are lower.
Yeah, but that's why I imagine like doing those roadshow gigs. That's like probably my big goal of comedy, is to just go and do roadshow. That seems like the thing I'd love to, just because it mattered so much to me coming up, that I'd love to do that. And I can't imagine how good a lot of the crowds are. Because like I do get sometimes nervous on regional, like doing real rural gigs, but oftentimes it's because you're in those, like, it's not good conditions, and there's a real skill set. And but so you go turn up to a nice theatre of people that are like.
Mate, I did a run late last year through I think it's the Western Downs region for Sit Down. So Sit Down booked it, and they like with the local council out there, and so you did like 3 different nights in these regional towns, like places I'd never heard of, and it was amazing. Like it was, but it was that exact thing. Like you go in, you're in the community hall. One, you know, the show society is running the bar, and then the one of them, it was the daycare was doing was running the food for the audience, and like it was. So we went in to, you know, set up, do a quick sound check out the space, and then, you know, there's ladies dropping off slow cookers and the different. It was the best, and I'm like, this is
awesome. This
is community, and then but they're just so happy you're there, happy to go with whatever, and it was one of those fun. And afterwards, they're all like, "Thank you for coming." You hosting? No, it was just 2 of us just doing a double headline sort of thing.
Great. So, did anyone have to do a meat raffle or anything?
No.
Because there's so many things where you go, just when you're wrapping it up, can you just draw out because we've got to meet today.
Oh,
so.
no. So the local members would come, like either a council member or a couple of, the local member, like their state member brought us on at one place. So they go up, oh, welcome. All right, we'll bring up your first committee. So you're being brought on by some, local politician or whatever. And it was just good fun.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Getting brought on by people that don't is the funniest thing sometimes.
Oh, mate.
I did this, it was like a corporate thing with Bron Lewis.
Yeah.
You know Bron? And it was like a disability support thing. And we were just like in there, like just where they eat. And they just had all the laminate stuff or whatever. And just like the manager of all these like disability support workers was just like, yeah, thanks for coming to the Christmas party. Judy couldn't be here today, just got back from South Africa, so she's still got a tummy bug. She's in an awful state at the moment. So hopefully we'll have her back next week. But to cheer you up.
That's so good. But to cheer you up,
got some comedy, so give it up. Here they are. And sometimes it's not say your name, it's just here they are.
Right,
so go off you go.
I've had that.
Start now.
I did I remember I did a seniors week gig during the day for like a seniors forum over on the northern beaches of Sydney, and it was one of these. It was bizarre. So they had like the expo, where so the seniors could find out all the services, and then they thought, well, just throw some comedy on. Yeah, there's the mayor's there, local members there, but I was a late call up because Peter Burner was supposed to be doing it, but then he got COVID. So couldn't go do it, or someone in his family got, because he couldn't go do it. So I literally had dropped my son to school, and I get this call from the guy who booked it, and I was like, it's like 9:05 on a Tuesday or whatever. I'm like, this is weird. All right. He goes, how quick can you get over the northern beaches? I said, oh mate, I'll go home, I'll change shirts, and I'll be there in an hour and a bit. He goes, okay, cool. I'll tell him you should be there by 10:30. I was like, no worries. So I head over, and literally the intro, ladies like So we thought we'd do something different, have a bit of comedy, just a bit of a treat for all of us. Like, so there's people still down the back, still talking to people doing expo stuff, and there's a few people sitting up the front. She goes, and so we thought we'd get Peter Burner.
I fucking knew this is what you were going to say.
She read the whole thing, and she goes, anyway, Peter was sick, but we've got Andrew Barnett here. So she read all Pete's credits.
That's brilliant.
Which would have been real good, but Pete's got COVID.
She knew you were going to be an hour and a half. Could have just gone on Wikipedia or something. Could have done something. It was just bare minimum. Write out a couple of notes.
Mate,
Judy, come on.
It was so funny, and I was just giggling like because it's one of those ones you're like, wow, this is going to go however it goes. It's like nothing's set up.
God, we are the lowest of the low.
Oh.
We really are the lowest form of fucking person.
Like Heggie says, it's the low end of the arts. But hey, I always say it's still better than working for a living.
Oh yeah, great way to spend life.
So much better. Now we're almost at time, but before we go, so obviously conquering the world. Cairns, you're just moving south. Yep. What's next?
Yeah, the world, mostly just that upper Queensland region.
No, but like,
you've taken over the world.
What's
You're basically comedy's Genghis Khan.
What if so? Looking forward 5 years, like what is it? Just stand up for you? Is that the dream, or do you want to do television? Do you want to do like what is driving the next thing, or is it just keep having fun?
My goal the whole time, and will remain the goal, I think, is I would love to just do this. I'd love to just do comedy. If I could just do that, that'd be great. And like I'm now making a living from comedy exclusively, but it's like performing it and adminning it and whatever. Ideally, best case, I just have to do this, and I'd love that. I'd love just people to turn up and see me do that, and to be really good at it. I'd love to be really good at it. Ideally.
You're well on the way to that. So, and now it's just convince the people to come out. But I think that's all very achievable.
Yeah, and if you, by any chance, were at my solo show last night in Sydney, I want you to remember that one day my goal is to be really good at it.
You said my
goal is to be great at it, but last night I was just all right at it. I was all right at it last night.
I often wonder.
But to be fair, what a fucking shit instrument you were.
I often wonder.
kidding,
Though,
sorry
I
about
bet
that.
you there's people in that audience who just would had no idea that you didn't feel like the amount of times I've had gigs where I've like had people I know there and they come up and I've just been not happy with how it went. They come up and they're like, man, it's great. It's really good. And it's like, oh no, you don't have the context for how you don't have how I wanted to execute it.
Yeah.
But you don't also have the context for how well it can go. So they're just that audience probably.
Yeah, well, there was like some people that I know for a fact some people really liked it because there was this, couple sort of in the front that were fucking loving it the whole time. But there was pockets of not like. But it's just like the feeling, when you can feel the difference internally. Yep. It's like it's nothing external. I can just go, I'm too in my head. I'm overthinking.
Yep.
I'm not here.
You didn't click into flow.
Watching, I'm not present because you can feel it when it's effortless. It's like gliding your fingers through water. It's just the easiest thing in the world, and there was just nothing that was seamless or easy about doing it. It was just like, what's my foot doing? It was just a lot of that. What am I doing?
Yep.
I should move. I should do. But you're not thinking about any of that when you're really in it.
No.
And not present. And so that's what's hard to like. I think it's learning to do solo shows because it's like just done Adelaide and Melbourne and now here. How do you make it, like it's popping when you first start doing it? Is because everyone says to me that it's like, the show kind of starts out here and then it just blah, 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 blah. But mine's kind of gone.
I have the same thing. So I didn't do Melbourne this year, so I didn't do that full run. But last year, I found by the end of Melbourne, like I was ready to take a break from that show just because I was like, I'm a bit, yeah, I get that thing where I'm all interested in it, but then I didn't start doing stand-up because I wanted to say the exact same thing every night.
Yeah.
And I'd locked into that in Melbourne, and then I'd started to evolve it a bit. And it was funny, I didn't even realise I was doing it. My brother and sister-in-law came and saw the show like first weekend in Melbourne, and then they came and saw it when I did it in Sydney. So it'd been like maybe 8 weeks between. And my sister-in-law said to me, she goes, oh my God, it was almost like a completely different show. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It's the same show. She goes, no, that was so different. And I was like, oh. And I realised I'd changed how I was getting into things, what I was emphasising. Right. There was different content just because I was building, like I was trying to add a bit at the top in Melbourne, like just talk about what was going on, what I noticed about Melbourne, just to keep me interested, keep me grounded in the room, like to make it a live thing rather than this is a monologue you're going to sit and watch for an hour. But I had that same thing where I just get to the point where I either need to evolve a show or let it go because I don't know about you, I'm not an actor, I'm not a performer in that sense where I can learn and then, I'm trying to get into the emotional. I'm just trying to make people laugh. Yeah. And if I forget why I thought it was funny, then I can't sell it anymore.
Yeah. Because sometimes you do an older bit after a little while and you can feel yourself kind of thinking the next, and you're thinking it, so you're delivering it like someone that's delivering it like a person having a thought.
Yeah.
But like, you can just, at the moment, I'm like, think like, you're not even thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not thinking about something else.
It's like you're hitting play.
I'm not thinking anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, think, you fucking think. Wake up, and I can't fucking, and then I'll try to riff something so that I go, oh, there we go, we're back in.
Yeah.
And then you just go, no, it's time to go into the bit. There you go. Yeah,
that's what, mate, I call it, I call it, I try and ground myself in the room, try and do something. Like, even if it's sometimes like if I'm in that zone, I'll scan for a reaction that I can try and, like if someone has a weird reaction, I can, go to the audience for a bit and then pull myself in just to keep myself in that.
It's so funny because I'm doing the same show that I did in Adelaide. The content, I've shifted a few things around on Wednesday because I was trying to keep it interesting. So I took a bit out, put a new bit in just because it's not in there yet. So I have to, think it there. But you're just like, the evidence suggests the show's good. Like it's gone very well. Like in Adelaide, it's quieter. It's like the first show was great, but smaller crowds, and then it just went boom, 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 and it built. And I sold out the last couple, and I've never like gotten an award before, and I got a weekly for the best, weekly for best comedy, which
Oh,
is not, I've
nice.
never
Congratulations.
Done. It was awesome. I was fucking so wrapped, not expecting it even in the slightest. But you're just like, I'm doing the same, and it's just not even. Like, and I'm like, it should be better now, surely.
Yeah.
And and I'm just like, Melbourne, it just kind of slowly started to.
Like, that's sort of part of the great puzzle of it, though, because you're never finished.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I don't know, it's the torture, but it's also part of the appeal, I think. But, yeah.
Absolutely.
But if people do want to come and see you and know what you're up to, do you want to just give a plug? Because we're probably getting to time. Where can people find you online?
On Instagram, my name is Diapetes, DIA_PETEES, because I have diabetes. Very clever.
Nice.
And I'm doing, Sydney. This will be out after Sydney.
Yeah,
Comedy
this will be out
Festival.
after Sydney.
But thanks for coming, everyone. Brisbane next Friday. If this is coming on Monday, is that right?
So next Monday's Jacques, so this will be Monday week.
Okay, well, thanks for coming, Brisbane.
Yeah.
But yeah, just follow me on Instagram, Diapetes. I'm posting. Oh, actually, I'll be doing this solo show at Good Chat Comedy Club, which I know will go well because I feel great there. So if in June, if you live in Brisbane, come and see my solo show at Good Chat.
Good Chat. Beautiful.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram. Just come to a show. It'd be great.
And go whenever you can. Go see Shad and Pete Save the World, because that is
that's sick. Yeah, that is. I'll back that. One's great.
There's no chance to not be in the moment.
It's gonna be in the moment. Yeah. That one. Oh, my favorite thing to do. That's so fun.
Excellent.
We got to get you on that at some point.
Mate, I'm keen as.
So good.
Excellent.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Thanks for doing this, mate.
Thanks, Barney. Appreciate it. That was great.